Elon Musk showed me how to add an extra $20,000 a month to my business. And I actually did. Like, to give you guys a little bit of context, I dropped out of school, right? I dropped out of college and I started to make about, 29-ish, $30,000 a month with an ad agency. And Elon Musk, on the other hand, he went on NASA's website and see that they didn't have a target destination date for Mars. And so he literally started an entire fucking rocket company to do it himself.
And I went on the NASA website to find out when we're sending people to Mars, and there was no date. I thought maybe it was just hard to find on the website, but in fact, there was no real plan to send people to Mars.
And he just dropped the most insane interview to a bunch of young entrepreneurs and hungry people that are looking to, build startups and succeed early on.
I talked to my professor, who was Bill Nix, in the material science department, and said, can I defer for a quarter because this will probably fail, and then I'll need to come back to college. And then he said, this is probably the last conversation we'll have. And he was right.
I've never seen something like this. I've never seen an interview with him, talking to that specific audience, right? Usually it's about some politics or some BS or some bullshit. But in this video, I'm going to give you guys the 11 takeaways from the 2.5-hour interview that I watched in depth. So you guys can just basically add this revenue to your business if you haven't already, or just at least learn from him himself. Let's jump right in. The first thing is do hard things because they matter.
Anyway, that ended up being reasonably successful. It sold for $300 million, which was a lot at the time.
You just need to think about this for a second. Imagine you building a rocket or figuring out how, where do you even find the resources to build a rocket? People don't even know how to cold call. How do you think he built a fucking rocket? What? Builds humanoid robots. These are not easy things. He constantly takes the 1%. I think it's very, very important to do harder shit. I don't think people really realize the gravity of that situation. He told a story in this interview and he said,
I went to Russia in 2001 and 2002 to buy ICBM, which is that's an adventure. You go and meet with Russian high command and say, I'd like to buy some ICBMs. So I was like, well, how about if we take 2 of those, minus the nuke? But it was kind of trippy, being in Moscow in 2001, negotiating with the Russian military to buy ICBMs. That's crazy.
And the reason why is because he just sold his first company. So he had $20 million in his bank account. Actually, funny about that.
I had 10 grand in the bank. And then this check arrives in the mail, of all places, in the mail. And then my bank balance went from 10,000 to 20 million and 10,000. You're like, well, okay.
But he was in Russia buying ICBM, so intercontinental ballistic missiles from Russia's government. You literally, let's say you just sold a company, right? You have 20 million in your bank account. Most people would probably just relax, first of all, go sit on a beach somewhere, fucking go to Bali, go to Dubai, whatever. He decided to go to Russia and buy missiles so he can start figuring out how he can go to Mars. Crazy. Do hard things because they matter. Number 2, be relentlessly truth-seeking. He basically draws concepts and theories and fundamentals and ideas from physics and math and different, fields of science and basically applies that to everything in life. And he said it's quite literally a superpower. That was his words.
I use all the tools of physics. They apply to any field. This is like a superpower, actually.
Kind of seeing a common occurrence between people that are really successful, like Sam Evans, Elon Musk, these people that are billionaires, they all have this first principle approach from fundamentals. A good example of this is let's say you were trying to buy a rocket, right? You're Elon Musk, you're in Russia, you're trying to buy a rocket and you're trying to figure out the price, right? So all the rockets are priced, I don't know, fucking $80 million. So it's 80 million, 82 million, 79 million. They're all around that range. The first principle approach would be okay, so look at this. We have a rocket. What are each individual component of a rocket? What is, what material is it comprised of? How much of that material? How much does that material cost to get? And, there's steel, there's titanium, there's all these things, right? And the first principle approach would be okay, so if the rockets are actually costing, 40 times less than the market price, then that means there is a huge markup in the actual manufacturing process. And the only way you can know that is through first principle approach, through stuff like math and physics.
You can't fool math. Math and physics are rigorous judges. So I'm used to being in a maximally truth-seeking environment.
And I think we all need to have this perspective in our own businesses and have this first principle approach and ask ourselves, let's say you're starting an ad agency like I did. You want to ask yourself not what your competitors are doing and just copy them. You want to ask yourself, okay, so I have a client. What exactly do I need to get my client, or at least have my client get, for them to be able to succeed and make more revenue? What is everything that needs to happen for my client to make a ton more money? Oh, by the way, side note, I'm basically also showing other guys how to basically start their own agencies and build a solid source of income. I actually have a bunch of results on the page as well. So if you guys want to check out what I do, it's in the description down below. So number 3, put the chips back on the table.
I kept the chips on the table. Then I ended up putting almost all of that into X.com. And as you said, just kind of keeping almost all the chips on the table.
As soon as he got that 20 million, he put it all into another business. I don't know about you guys, but if I got 20 million in my bank right now, I'd probably just retire. Probably would. I mean, I do love what I do, but at the end of the day, I'd probably be on the beach somewhere. I mean, I could go to the beach in Barcelona today, but he almost lost all of that money. Like, he put it all back into what is known as now PayPal today. He put everything into that. He almost ran out of money. And I think it's very crazy that he just keeps betting all of his money. He keeps betting on himself on the 1%. And it just always seems to work out. Number 4. Aim for the main quest. So he had a few month period where he was in politics, right? He was with Trump.
I did sort of feel a bit like, when I was in DC taking a lot of flack for getting rid of waste and fraud, which was an interesting side quest, as side quests go. But yeah, I got to get back to the main quest here.
A very important lesson I've learned is to always aim for the main quest. Always aim for the big thing. Because nowadays, he's back in his main goal, trying to, make humanity multi-planetary, which is crazy mission for a person to have. But you must always be focused on your long-term vision. I will say that is the most important thing for all of you. Number 5, don't wait for permission. So what's crazy is that Elon Musk applied to work at Netscape. He never actually wanted to start a business.
I didn't actually at first intend to start a company. I tried to get a job at Netscape. I sent my resume into Netscape, and Mark Andreessen knows about this. But I don't think he ever saw my resume, and then nobody responded. So and then I tried hanging out in the lobby of Netscape to see if I could bump into someone, but I was too shy to talk to anyone. So I'm like, man, this is ridiculous. So I'll just write software myself and see how it goes. So it wasn't actually from the standpoint of I want to start a company. I just want to be part of building, the internet.
Do the work yourself. So yeah, in the beginning, he couldn't find the good engineers. He couldn't do the work. He couldn't hire shit out, and he just did everything himself. He was fucking drilling holes in the floor, doing wiring at night.
And then I ended up being chief engineer of the rocket. Not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't hire anyone who was good.
And to this day, he's literally sleeping in the factory sometimes. Number 7, constantly destroy your ego.
Always be smashing your ego. Like internalized responsibility.
Purposefully flexing all the time, especially on social media, and just maximizing your ego. There is a very, very high likelihood that the people who minimize their ego and destroy it and constantly bash their ego will crush the person that doesn't. A big ego, when you have a big ego, you distort the feedback loop. So you don't truly know what's going on, because the feedback loops are what's going to tell you what to do next, right? Let's say you have a bad results in a sales call, right? Your ego might be like, oh, the prospect was terrible. He wasn't worth this at all. But in actuality, that distorts the feedback loop that maybe tells you that maybe you should be better at sales. Right. But the problem is that most people's egos become so inflated that they're impossible to they have no responsibility. They have no accountability. They almost have victim mindset because their ego is so high. Number 8, control your destiny. Yeah, he basically lost his fucking crazy problem to have. His first company ever. His biggest problem was the legacy media investors. They maintain control of the whole board of the company, which is, I'm not having problems like that. I'm having problems my fucking metrics aren't good enough and my KPIs are out. Crazy first problem, but yeah, kind of not having that victim mindset. Act even if you might fail. So,
whether you're CEO or any role in a startup, you do whatever it takes to succeed.
One thing I'm kind of realizing is that you have to be comfortable to go all in. You have to expect that you might fail, because when you fail, you're going on the right track. And what I mean by that is entrepreneurship is a road, right? And you are going down that road through when you start a business and stuff like that. So what's cool about this is that, let's say you're Elon Musk here. You start on the road, right? And let's say you fail. If you fail and you don't have a crazy large ego, you get the feedback, you come back onto the road and you readjust and keep going down it, right? But if you're scared, or if you're afraid of failing, you don't even go down this road. You fucking go this way. And so the point is that if you want to succeed and make a shit ton of money, if the end of the road is fucking, I don't know, 1 million a month or 1 million a year, or whatever it is, you have to go down the road, expect that you might take a wrong path and might fail and, might have something that bad happens to you, but then minimize your ego enough so you can actually listen to the feedback and think from first principles and get back on the path. And then you just keep doing that. Every time you stray off, you come back. Every time you stray off, you come back. And before you know it, it's super fucking messy. It's all over the place, but you are inevitably going down that path to get to the goal. And before you know it, you're there. I'll be at a point where pretty soon I'm making this money. And it's not because I'm delusional or anything. It's because I know how this works. Because throughout my whole life, every time in entrepreneurship, I just continuously stray off the path and get back on it. And it always works for me. Number 10, be useful and stay curious.
I generally think to try to be as useful as possible. It may sound trite, but it's so hard to be useful, especially to be useful to a lot of people.
His biggest advice was just to be maximally useful for others. If you're being useful to your other humans, right? If you're being useful, you will make money. That's literally it. Because the fundamental principle behind this is like, if you're solving someone's problem, you're alleviating pain. You're alleviating pain. You're causing value. You charge money for it, right? If you're maximally useful for others, if you're using all your energy to be as useful as possible to other people by asking the biggest questions about life, the universe, and actually solving them, by staying curious and being useful, you are by nature going to make a lot of money. And number 11, start with usefulness, not greatness. Musk never set out to build something great. He never wanted to build something great. He never even thought about building a business in the first place. And that is a very, very big distinction, because so many people, by watching, like you watching this video or you watching another video about entrepreneurship, you were like, you want to build something great. You want to build an empire. You want to do all these things. But I think that's the wrong intention and the wrong approach. The approach you need to have is to build something useful. And when I took this advice, when I thought like, oh, instead of building something great, I focused less on my YouTube main channel, more on my business, more on my clients, more on the people that I can help succeed. Oh, and by the way, if you want help, you want to get to Europe or do all these cool things, the link in the description, you can check it out. No worries. It's what I do. But ask yourself, is your business useful? Are you being useful to other people? And if the answer is no, then you probably should not do whatever you're doing, right? So aim to solve real problems, right? Even if your first idea isn't world changing. Like I will say, this interview completely changed my paradigm. It changed the way I think about things. It literally made me think much bigger. I feel like I've never felt smaller in my life. But if you guys want access to the interview and you want to check it out and actually watch it for yourself, go ahead and DM me on Instagram at Owen Rensland. It's at the bottom of the description. You can check it out, my Instagram. And you could just DM me anything and just DM me like Elon or something. And I'll basically send over that interview to you. And you can watch it. It's very, very interesting. But I hope you have a good day, and peace out.